Okay, guys, glory to God. We're releasing another amazing heavenly counsel. This time of the 1,200. Look, I can't repeat the same things over. I'm going to do a little recap, but this is things that you would have to follow this progression, guys, of revelation of what we're releasing here, okay? Now, what we're talking about is the great mystery of the man-child, okay? And the man-child has to do with people that sit in councils. So what we see in Daniel 7, I want to read it real quick. I saw in night visions, and behold, with the clouds of heaven, there came one like the Son of Man, or the man-child, okay? And he came to the Ancient of Days and was presented before him, and to whom was given dominion, glory, a kingdom, all peoples and nations and languages should serve him. In Daniel 7:18, the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever. And this is also what John said in Revelation chapter 20, verse 4. I saw the throne, and I saw thrones, and judgment was given to them. So these are these people that judgment was given. And their councils. Okay, we've been sharing with you these councils, how these councils are, you always have lion, man, ox, eagle. You always have the living creatures. You also have the 24 elders, okay, and in these descriptions, okay. Now, guys, what we're doing here is this is the key to David, the key to the house of David, okay? And this is how you open these doors to understand these councils. Now, I'm doing all this at a specific time and at a particular season, which we will get into. But I want to talk to you a little bit more about how these councils appear. Okay, let's look at 1 Chronicles 9:24. And 4 quarters, remember there's 4 beasts, were porters towards the east, west, north, and south. And we've been talking about that. Lion, ox, man, eagle, east, west, north, south. 4 porters, right? So here we have 4 porters in set offices. These we know which are the 4 beasts. And they were over the chambers of the treasuries of the house of God. So guys, what happens in the scriptures, what you're going to see, what's happening in the scriptures is what's happening in heaven, okay? Let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So his word is in heaven, and in heaven are angels, okay? And then the order and structure of procedures of what the angels in the kingdom of heaven is doing is written in the book, okay? But they are written in ways or in descriptions of things that men are doing on the earth, okay? So in 1 Chronicles 9:24 through 29, this is the house of David, okay? And it says right here, these lodge, so these are people, these are Levites around the temple, but they also represent angels. They lodged around the house of God because the charge was upon them. Okay, so there's charges, there's procedures, all right? And we're going into all those procedures, and that's why we're doing this. And the opening every morning. Now what this is saying is that Levites had a key. They opened the door for the temple that day, all right? But this word opening is very, very significant. In the Hebrew, this word is meptah. I'm not probably pronouncing that right, but this is the Hebrew word for key to the house of David, that I've been showing you. All right? So here is this, and this is not a common word, guys. It's only used 3 times. It's in Isaiah 22:22, the key to the house of David. We know this was given to the church of Philadelphia. Now, what happens is you have these priests. These priests are acting as the 4 beasts and the 24 elders. We see that in 1 Chronicles 24, the 24 elders. And some were appointed to oversee the vessels. So what we're going to talk about is more of the vessels. We talk about the spoons, the 120, right? Now we're going to talk about the platters and the bowls, okay? And these are all vessels, okay? They were appointed to oversee the vessels, all the instruments of the sanctuary, okay? Now watch these things. The fine flour, the wine, and the oil, and the frankincense and the spices, okay? Now, we looked before, we saw how the spoon, there's 120 people, and in the spoon is the incense, right? Okay, now we're going to look at the bowls and platters, because they hold, you see how it says fine flour, okay? Now, what they do is they measure the flour. They measure the harvest, okay? These people will measure the harvest. That's what we're going to get into, okay? Now, you'll see it says wine and oil here as well. This is exactly what we see in Revelation 6, verse 6. Where did I put it here? There was a black horse, and he that sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny. 3 measures of barley for a penny. See that you hurt not the oil and the wine. Okay, so clearly here we're seeing in 1 Chronicles chapter 9, the fine flour, the wine, and the oil. And it also says the frankincense and the spices. So these are all things that are a part of offerings, guys. But they relate to people. They relate to the harvest. Okay, so when the black horse rider is holding the scales, he's measuring the harvest. Okay, because the way you measure things by weight is actually with coins. Okay, it's called the Shekel of the sanctuary. We're going to get into it. But what I'm trying to show you is the ordered pattern and structure of what's happening in 1 Chronicles 9 is the house of David. Okay, all right. Now let's look at the platters and bowls. Okay. I'm sorry for my crude props, guys. I used to have nice props and everything, but we're gonna have to use Tupperware. So picture this as a bowl. All right, this is our bowl, and this is our platter. Okay. And so these are part of an offering that the children of Israel did when Moses dedicated the tabernacle. Okay, so in Numbers chapters 1 through 10, we talked about this in a previous message, but now we're going to go into Numbers 7 and break it down a little bit further. Okay, in Numbers chapter 7, there are 12 rulers. Those 12 rulers brought an offering of their tribe. For example, the first offering is Nashon. Now, Nashon is actually in the genealogy of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amazing. But the first offering is Nashon, and he is the tribe of Judah. So Judah first. Okay? And that's the first day. Then what happens is each tribe gives an offering. They give the same exact offering. Okay? Now, what's happening within these offerings are details that are very important, very significant. Because like we said, we're learning like these vessels, the temple vessels, each gives a spoon. Okay, we talked about the 120. Each spoon has incense. Okay? As you go through these 12 days are before Passover. Okay? Now, the bowls were, where is it? The bowls each are 70 shekels. And it says clearly these are according to the shekel of the sanctuary. Okay, so we've got a shekel here, and each bowl is 70 shekels. So each tribe gives one bowl, 70 shekels. Then they have a platter. The platter is 130 shekels. Okay, so again, the size of the platter is dictated by coins. Okay, and this is the shekel of the sanctuary where we can actually measure these people. Okay, so 130 plus 70 is 200. Okay, so what you have is you have 200 shekels. between these two vessels. Now, each tribe gives them. So you have 12 times 200 is 2,400. Now, what's happening is, as I was telling you guys, the spoons are 120. Okay? The bowls and platters are 2,400. So what's happening, I hope you can understand this, is that during this period of time, which we are now in, we are in day 2 or 3, I'm not sure when the video will upload, but we're in the early days of the 12 days. What's going to happen is these, the number of people will be reduced, okay? So what happens is, this is the man-child, guys. These are the rulers. The rulers are like the virgins. You know the story of the virgins. There's 5 wise, there's 5 foolish, okay? So there's those that don't prepare themselves, right? Now these are the rulers that the Lord Jesus talked about in Matthew 24 and 25. I'll read those a little bit later, because I know some of you are like, who are these people? What is this description? But follow me here about this offering. So what's going to happen, guys, is the 2,400 shekels represent 2,400 people, okay? Those people will be reduced in half, okay? And in the end, we'll have 1,200 people, okay? Now, this is the season where we have the 120 have already been counted. Okay, we've determined that they've been counted already, going back to the Day of Atonement, back to the 7th month last year. But now we have this other thing taking place, this other council, this other offering. All right, and at the end of something during time, wise guys, then will be counted 1,200 people. Okay, let me briefly explain the shekel of the sanctuary, okay? When I'm saying the shekel of the sanctuary, when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about this here. And I'm hoping this comes out clear. And the way I'm looking at the camera, it's not that clear. But you can see right here, you have 24, 240, 2,400, and 24,000. So guys, these numbers here would be the total amount of the man-child. Okay, you also have the 144,000, but they're 24,000 per tribe first. Then number, weigh, divide. Then their numbers are reduced in half, and we have 144,000. Well, the same thing happens. You have 120, but half of the 240, okay, is the 1,200. Now, the way you come to these precise figures, these are precise figures. I'm just making this stuff and pulling a rabbit out of a hat, guys. These are exactly what the Lord talked about when he talked about talents. Okay. When he talked about talents, what we learned from the shekel of the sanctuary, that when you have a shekel, okay, that's a shekel. Now, you may have heard that Donald Trump is on a bika, or a shekel, half shekel, okay? Now, what they're doing is this is the false beast system of what you're seeing with Donald Trump and what you're seeing in Israel. The truth is, what the men did, guys, is they took a half a shekel. They gave a half a shekel, okay? Let's just call this one, just for example, let's say this is a half a shekel, okay? Now, if that's a half a shekel, then it would be 1 shekel is 2 people, okay? So like if this is 1 shekel, it would represent 2 of these. So you have 1 shekel represents 2 people. Now, in Exodus 38, when you do the math, you can actually determine the talents. Okay, so each shekel is a piece of gold, okay? What a talent is kind of like a brick of gold, right? You know, in the treasury rooms, and you see bricks of gold, that's a talent. That's a large number of melted, metal into that block of that, gold or silver, whatever it is, right? So that when Lord Jesus gave talents, those talents are like that. That means that there's a number of shekels that go into each block, okay? Now, we've determined that there's 10,380 shekels in one block, or one talent, okay? Now, this is critical, because once we know that, then the Lord Jesus Christ said, okay, he gave one 5 talents. He gave another 2 talents, okay? These are the man-child. These are these people we're telling you about. So when he gave talents, okay, that's the spoons. That's the 120. He gave the 120 talents, okay? Now, the reason we know it's the 120 is twice you see the number 120 associated with talents. King Hiram gave to Solomon 120 talents. Queen of Sheba gave to Solomon 120 talents. Again, 120 plus 120 is 240. And half of 240 is 120. These are the spoons that we see right here in Numbers chapter 7. So guys, what's about to happen is these people are about to be counted. Okay? And then what happens is Numbers chapter 9 is Passover. Okay, so we have 12 days leading to Passover. Okay? Then in Numbers chapter 10, we have silver trumpets being blown. Okay, we have silver trumpets in Numbers 10. This is after Passover. Okay, these are assemblies. Now, these assemblies, again, go by 4. Lion, ox, man, eagle. Judah, Reuben, Ephraim, Dan. East, west, south, north. Okay? And they're trumpets, assembly. Okay? But I also want to talk a little bit more about this shekel. This is amazing, guys. I hope you understand this. In this particular shekel here, it's one of the Israelis staying in the hotel gave it to me, and I hope you can see on it in the video that there's palms on it. Okay, there's palms, and there's kind of like something below, like baskets. But to me, those baskets are actually jugs of water. And the reason that's significant is what I think this is representing is, if you remember when the children of Israel where they came into a place and there were 70 palm trees and 12 springs. So what I think that they're doing is that they're representing this on this shekel. And you can see it's a 10 shekel. So you can see it's 10, and it's palms and buckets. Now, I've been telling you the significance of the number 144, okay? If you take 144 times 72 plus 12, you come up with 10,380. That's amazing. Guys, that's the shekel of the sanctuary. That's how many shekels are in a talent. If we call this a block of gold and it's a talent of gold, that's how many shekels are in a block of gold. Okay? So that's what's going on. Remember, the Satan is always counterfeiting. Okay? There's something going on with the shekel of the sanctuary. It is counting the people. Okay? The other thing about Numbers chapter 7, okay, when we talked about the bowls and the platters, it says clearly that you measure the shekel, and you measure the bowls, and you measure the platters by the shekel of the sanctuary. Okay, so this is an expression that's used to properly measure the temple vessels. But let's remember, these bowls are also measuring the harvest. Okay, so what happened is the children of Israel would give the bowls, and they would not, and the platters, and they were full of fine flour. That's the other thing. We showed you how the 120 judged the bride. Okay, they judged the incense for Esther's preparation. Okay, as well, these people that are bowls and platters, they are temple vessels. They are measurable by shekels. Okay, the children of Israel would fill these with flour. Okay, and gave them to Moses. Now, we saw that the angel had the scales measuring the fine flour. Okay, so these had flour in them and oil. Okay, and what's happening is this whole story, everything I'm telling you is the harvest is being measured. Okay, all these people are being measured. That's what's going on. That's the significance of what's happening in these 12 days. Okay, now, the other thing about the number 144, okay, if some of what I'm saying doesn't make sense, guys, I'll put links in the description field. I've already talked about everything I'm saying. None of this is new, okay? It might be new to you, but the number 144, okay. John says, measure the temple, okay? He's given a reed like a rod, and he's in Revelation chapter 11, measure the temple, okay? And he measures the temple. This is actually a measurement right here, if I can fit it in the whole thing in the camera, not really, but that's 2.5 cubits, okay? Now, once you know that cubit measurement, okay, properly, it is 25.2 inches, okay? There's a mystery, guys. There's an inner court. He says measure the inner court. If you measure an inner court of 144 cubits, the measurement of it, of one wall, is 300 feet. 2 walls, 300, so it's a perfect square. So the measurement of all 4 walls together is 1,200 feet. Again, representing these people. Okay? The reason I'm giving you this whole breakdown is because Gideon had his army. When Gideon had his army, he had 300 men for war. And what he gave them trumpets. Okay? He gave each one of the men trumpets, and he gave them a pitcher. So a pitcher is like this, and a pitcher had a light in it. Let's see if my light will cooperate. Okay, looks like it is. All right, there we go. So, it's a little dim. Come on, wake up light. There we go, there's our light. So he gave them a pitcher, okay, and they had lamps in the pitcher. He gave them a trumpet, okay, and there's 300 of them. Now, guys, this is real, okay? So what God is doing is he's assembling the people, all right? But he's saying there's too many, okay? There's too many. We need to reduce them, okay? So you know the story about Gideon and how the number was reduced to 300 mighty men, okay? Now, remember, they go forth with trumpets, all right? And they're given this lamp. So just like the virgins had oil in their lamps, they had lamps burning, so do the man-child, these 1,200, okay? So that is also something that happens, guys, at this time. The reason I say it's this time is because Gideon, what he did is the angel visited him. And when the angel visited him, he made for him unleavened bread and a kid. Now, Gideon was poor. So this is actually, if you were poor and you couldn't afford a sheep, you would give a kid, a goat, okay? So what Gideon is doing, he's actually doing Passover and unleavened bread when this angel is coming. He gives for the angel the kid, he prepares it for the angel, and he makes unleavened bread. So that's giving us time, okay? And then he at the same time, he's assembling these people. And he's giving them trumpets, and he's giving them, as well, lamps, okay? So what I'm getting at is these 300 men represent just one section, okay? Remember, it's east, west, south, north, okay? So one wall or one section of troops for the 1,200 is only 300. And Gideon further breaks them down into groups of 100. So with one wall, one section of any gates, you always have 3 gates. Okay, so he's dividing the 300 men into 3 gates. Okay, but that's just one wall. If you take the other walls and you take the other sections, you have 1,200. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. But that is why I'm telling you about this time, because we have the bowls and platters measuring the harvest. Okay, 12 days before Passover. All right, we have Joshua. Joshua kept the Passover. Then he had 7 trumpets, and he went around Jericho. 7 trumpets. Okay. Now we also have Gideon. Gideon had 300 men. He gave 300 trumpets. okay, at Unleavened Bread. So what we have is we have something amazing going on, guys, okay? Exactly what this means, if this will manifest, some of you may not see or understand anything I'm saying. That's okay. If there's only one person that understands what I'm saying and is actually part of the stuff I'm talking about, I rejoice, okay? I'm just doing this out of obedience. This is progressive revelation, guys. These are things that people don't know about, okay? But these are real things. Now, let's remember that the spoons are 120, okay? And we saw that the spoons had 120 trumpets in the 7th month, okay? So that's already happened, okay? So these are all symbolisms and significant things about the time that we're in, okay? So these are heavenly councils. These people will be chosen, okay? Now, I want to mention this. Now, you know I talk so much about numbers, all right? Now, we showed you like a platter is 130 shekels, okay? A bowl is 70 shekels. Now, a half, now what's going to happen is the numbers are going to be reduced in half. So a platter, instead of it being 130 shekels, will be 65, okay? A bowl, instead of being 70 shekels, will be 35, okay? Now, one of the things I do, guys, I always show you, you'll find interesting things in the numbers of the Strong's Concordance, okay? The numbers in the Strong Concordance, how it works is you have numbers associated with the words in Hebrew in the Old Testament. You have numbers associated with the words in Greek in the New Testament. Now, the Hebrew, is it Hebrew or is it Greek? Where did I have it? It's Greek. Okay, in the Greek, the word bride in New Testament is nymphe in the Greek. The Strong's Concordance on that number is 3565. That's right, 3565. So the precise shekels that we see that are half of the amount of the platters and bowls in number 7, these judge the bride, is what I'm getting at. They're full of flour and they're measuring the bride, okay? All right. Now, another thing I want to mention, guys, is, okay, let me just get it here. Okay. I told you about Yehoiada's key, okay? Now, Yehoiada's key, there's another video on this, and we talk about this priestly order. Now, this priestly order is also an arrangement that would have to take place at a particular time. Now, Yehoiada was a priest that started to organize things for a king. What he did is he defeated Athaliah. Athaliah is kind of like a Jezebel, okay? And he put this priestly order. I have another video on this. But I want to mention this, guys. One of the things that he did after, there's so many amazing things he did. But one of the things he did is he restored the temple. So the temple was already built. It was the first temple. But he restored the temple, and what he did is he said a chest, okay? He put a chest and put a hole in it. Now, this is a large chest. I'm just doing this as an example. He put this chest in the temple complex and put a hole in it and said, okay, you know, people give to this work as we restore the temple. Okay, and then what he did is he took the money and he gave it to the carpenters. Okay, he gave it to the people doing the work. And that's the other thing that's happening, guys, is God is distributing to the people that are building his house. Okay, there's going to be a shift. There's even going to be a financial thing going on with Yehoiada's chest. Now, in the Hebrew where it says chest, it's actually Aaron, which is ark. So it's like another ark. It's not the Ark of the Covenant, but he put a box. He put an ark. He put a box with a hole in it, and he said, okay, anyone that wants to give, and, you know, this is going to the work of the house. And then he took the proceeds of that, and they went to the carpenters. Remember, I've been telling you about the 4 carpenters in the house, and the military, and everything. So that's what's going to happen, guys. The people that are doing God's work, there's provision for them, okay? And that's Yehoiada's chest. Okay, But let's keep going. We're still talking about these people. Now I want to take a little bit because some of you may wonder, and you may ask me, okay, Leland, tell me more about these people. How do we know who these people are and what is going on? Well, basically in the Lord's parables, he had a parable of talents. Okay, just like we showed you when we look at this, and it was a talent, of gold. He gave people talents, and then they took those talents and they multiplied them. Okay, and he also gave pounds. Now, if you can see this is a British pound. Okay, so again, a pound is a coin, like a shekel, which is it's a smaller one. So there were people that had talents, which is a brick of gold, right? And then there's those that he gave pounds, which is a smaller amount. So he gave them based on their ability, okay? Now read the parable of the talents, read the parable of the pounds. I'm going to mention a little bit of it because the 120, the spoons, the 120 are the talents, right? Well, the pounds are the 1,200. And I want to read a little bit here. And he called his 10 servants and delivered them 10 pounds and said to them, occupy till I come. Okay, now, when you study a pound, when we're reading in Greek, you have to transfer the information into the Hebrew. Okay, so the Greek word there translates to the Hebrew minna, or manna, M-A-N-E-H. Okay, and in Ezekiel, I think it's Ezekiel 45, it gives us the number of shekels that are in a pound, because a shekel is smaller. Okay, so picture the shekel being smaller than a pound, and it actually is. You can see, hopefully you can see a pound is thicker than a shekel, even in this example. But the number of shekels that go into a pound is 60 shekels. So if this is a pound, it would be 60 shekels. Okay? Now, but he gave them 10 pounds, right? Well, if you count up the shekels there, it's 10. The 10 pounds times 60 shekels, right? It's 600 shekels between those 10 pounds, right? Now, let's remember that in the shekel of the sanctuary, we told you before that for every 1 shekel, it's 2 people. Okay, so if this is 1 shekel, the men gave a half a shekel. So 2 men would represent 1 shekel. So then you have 600 shekels times 2 is 1,200 shekels. Okay, again, these are these people, guys, 1,200. I'm trying to explain. Now, I encourage you to read the whole thing, but basically what happens is he gives them the shekels. The one that he takes 1, he turns his 1 shekel into 10 shekels. Another takes, his 1 pound, turns it into 10 pounds. Another takes his pound and he turns it into, I forget, 2 or 5. Okay? And there was another one that didn't take his pound, didn't do anything, and the Lord rebuked him. Okay? A very similar thing you see in Matthew 24 with the talents. Okay. All right. So what happens is he gives them these pounds, and when they're faithful, the guy that got 10 pounds, multiplied, got 10 pounds, he got 10 cities. Okay. The guy that got I think it was 5, guys, if I remember right. Maybe 5 or 2, I forget. But God gave him the number of cities based on the number of pounds. Okay? So what I'm getting at is these people are actually ruling over cities. All right? But it says the citizens hated them, and they sent a message after them saying, "We will not have this man rule over us." So when he sent them to a city, right? And then they were supposed to trade. They were supposed to increase the number of pounds. But the people hated him. They didn't receive their message. But when the king returned, it came to pass when the king returned, having received the kingdom, he said, "Bring those enemies which would not have this man reign over you, and slay them before you." So when these people go out and the people don't receive them, when the Lord comes in his kingdom, they're killed. Okay? That's how serious these people are. Now, guys, another thing about these people is that the Israelis build their government around these numbers. Okay? Now, some of you, I don't know if you know what the Knesset is. The Knesset is like a Congress in the United States, right? Now, they built that Congress off this number 120. Okay? Now, you may have also heard of the Mossad in Israel. It's kind of like CIA, or, yeah, it's more like CIA because it's international. That is also built off this number 1,200. I just want to mention those things, that they're using these numbers. They're somehow have learned this. I don't know of any teaching of anything I'm saying. All this is new to me. If it's new to you, it's new to me. But I just want to explain to you about these people. We also find them in Matthew 24, verse 45. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord has made ruler over his household, and to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, when the Lord, when he comes, shall find him doing. Verily I say unto you, he shall make him ruler over all his goods. And of that evil servant that said in his heart, my Lord delays his coming, he shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink and be drunken. The Lord of that servant shall come in that day when he looks not, in an hour which he is not aware, and shall cut him asunder and appoint his portion with the hypocrites, and there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So guys, these are these people, 1,200. Just like I showed you, just like the virgins, there are those that were good and faithful servants here, and just like there was unwise virgins, you can see that those were drunken and beating their maidservants, and they're not preparing for the Lord's return. But guys, these are real people. These are people in government and business all over the world, okay? Now, I also want to mention a few more things about them. They are called the keepers of the vineyard. In Song of Solomon, chapter 8, it says, Solomon let out his vineyard to keepers, every one for the fruit thereof was to bring in 1,000 pieces of silver. My vineyard, which is mine, before me, O Solomon, have 1,000, and those that keep the fruit thereof 200. Again, 1,200. Again, guys, in the video we talked about the shields of faith, right? Well, there were 200 large shields of faith, okay? And Solomon put those on the walls of the porch of pillars. We have another video on that. Okay, 200, all right? And Song of Solomon is a great mystery. Your neck is like a tower of David, building as an armory. Therefore hang 1,000 shields for the mighty men. So there are 200, okay, in 1 Kings chapter 10, and there's another 200 in Song of Solomon 4, verse 4, giving us a total of 1,200. As well, let's see, what else? I don't want to make this video long, guys. I got a lot more information than this. I think that's what we're going to do, is conclude it from there. Well, okay, let's just summarize real quick. We got the trumpets, okay? We got 12 days leading to Passover. After Passover, we have the trumpets of assembly of the camps. We have the trumpets of Joshua, 7 trumpets. We have Gideon's army, 300 trumpets, okay? All happening after Passover. We have talked about the spoons. In this one, I also have other videos on this. If it's not clear, faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word. We got bowls, 70 shekels. Number 70, very significant. We have 130 into the platters. Okay, we add those together, we have 2,400 shekels. That number of 2,400 shekels will be reduced to 1,200 shekels, or 1,200 people. So guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you have paid attention to the recent messages. Guys, the recent messages, what we're doing is we're assembling the troops, okay? We're assembling for battle. We're assembling for war, okay? But these are councils in the heavens where these people will be picked and chosen in these upcoming days. That's what it appears. We have 12 days. of this. We also have the measurement, guys, of the fine flour, of the harvest. Okay? We saw that in Revelation 6:6. Okay? Measure the wheat, measure the barley. Okay? The measurements are happening. Everything is happening, guys. Okay? So thanks for watching. What I strongly encourage you to do is to follow the Great Trumpet Army playlist. If not, you can actually just go back to the recent videos. When I started talking about the shield, okay, all those videos until now are contributing to the same thing. Okay, we've talked about Esther's preparation, we've talked about the trumpets, and everything else. So guys, I'm trying to talk slower. I'm trying to take my time. So hopefully this makes sense. I'm doing my best. So thanks for watching. God bless you. And please pay attention, because these are critical times. We'll see events on the news to the glory of Yeshua's Christmas and his soon coming kingdom. Amen.